Okay, so we brought up the value of the acoustical engineer in the theater process. Let's talk about what an acoustical engineer actually brings to the table. Let's dive into that a little bit more. So an acoustical engineer is able to look at and model the room based on the equipment that you have, the aesthetic design of the room, the ideal seating positions, speaker locations, and the type of projector you're using in the room. So for example, certain projectors, you need a certain size screen for. You need to make sure that some of the more powerful projectors have actually safety zones because the lasers are so bright that you don't want people to be able to walk under or be exposed to those lasers. You also don't want, if you have a second row, third row, fourth row, you want to have clear visibility of the screen in all of those rows and all of those locations. For speakers, there are so many different kinds of speakers with so many different room correction built into them, placement specifications that a good acoustical engineer is going to be familiar with a brand. So for example, if you're using a Steinway Lingdorf system, you do want to cater your acoustical design in a different way to get the best out of those speakers than you would if you were using a horn-based system like Pro Audio technology. An acoustical engineer also focuses on sound isolation. So most people think of sound isolation as soundproofing. Sound isolation doesn't mean what you think it means. So sound isolation has two elements. You want to keep the sound in the room from getting out into other rooms. So for example, if your master bedroom is upstairs from your theater, you want to do sound isolation so that when you're listening to your theater at reference level, 115 dB, really loud, you don't want your wife to not be able to sleep. So that's one element of sound isolation that we normally think about. The second element of it is you want your room to be quiet. You don't want to hear somebody flushing the toilet next door. You don't want to hear lights humming. You don't want to hear sound from the outside, maybe from the road, because you don't want to be distracted when you're watching a movie. When there's a really quiet scene, you want to be able to hear all the incredible details that the sound engineers are bringing into the movie. It could be like the wind blowing. It could be raindrops on the leaves in the forest. It could be the rustling of footsteps. You want to be completely engaged and immersed in that movie as much as possible.